Welcome back to another episode, and today we're trying to get my cheap K40 laser a little bit better cutting with some air assist. So right now we've been working pretty hard on trying to get this thing cutting properly. We've been doing lots of test cuts and all this other stuff trying to get it functioning well, and we've gotten there finally. There's a lot of testing that's been going on, and finally been making some progress. The next thing that I need to do is to get some air assist in here. So if you look inside here, this is my new little bed setup. There's no air assist on the laser head itself. The only air that you have is the air from the little fan, the exhaust fan that exits out through here. So to get a better, cleaner burn, we're going to add some kind of air assist directly to the laser head itself. Here's some prototypes of what I'm working on for my Etsy shop. It may be kind of hard to see, but this was the first one that I had cut out with no air whatsoever being plumbed into the machine. And there's significant scorching through here because as it was cutting close to its previous cut, it would catch fire. And it would have a little flame that would be following it around. So it scorched pretty good. On this one, you can see it's not nearly as much scorching as what this one was. And that's because through this front little hole here, I took my little air compressor and was just pushing a nozzle in there, just flooding some air in here. So it did make a significant difference, even with just a little bit of air being pushed into the cabin. So I've went into my garage and found 4 different devices that I have here handy that I can possibly use for the air assist in here. So here's what I did that test with on the with those dog paw ornaments. This is my little Harbor Freight 3-gallon compressor, and you can see I just put the little nozzly gun on there, and I turned the volume of air down as far as I could. It still was kicking around 20 psi, which means that it would drain very quickly. And then, of course, the motor turns on, and that just didn't work. See, the thing I really like about laser cutters, when working here at the house, my wife also works here at the house in her office, and she takes lots of phone call meetings and stuff like that. So when she's working there, I can't be using my CNC and stuff like that down in the basement because it's literally right underneath of her, and it's noisy. So I'm limited on my times that I can use that throughout the week. But with the laser cutter, it's quiet. There's no real noise except for the little fan blowing, and that's next to nothing. And you also have the little pump for the water down here, and that's next to nothing. You might as well not even talk about it because it's so quiet. So with the addition of that little 3-gallon air compressor, it's flipping loud, and that's just not going to work. So into the garage I went, and I was searching for this little guy. This is an Airbrush compressor that I've had for maybe 20-25 years and never really used it. It does push out air a little bit, and I think it'd be okay for what we're using it for, but I wanted to see what other options I had too. Okay, well, the next thing that we found out in the garage was this little pump. This is for like an air mattress pump or whatever. Blows a ton of air, which is really awesome. It's also insanely loud. Probably rivals this thing, maybe at a different pitch, but it's god awful loud, so that's not going to work either. Now this has me interested. This is a vacuum pump, actually. Let's see here. I can turn it around. It's from Invacare. So it's like a medical vacuum pump. I don't even know where I picked this thing up at. It was sitting in the same box as this other stuff. But I've had it for probably 20 years, just hanging out. I think my original thought was, similar to what the airbrush compressor was, just a bigger one, but it is a vacuum pump and not an air compressor. So, in my opinion, that leaves us two options: the airbrush compressor or the vacuum pump. The air compressor is a 1.6 amp unit, and this one's 2.9. So I think in general, I'd rather have the little bit larger one. It is slightly louder than what this one is, but I think that's a good trade-off for the amount of air that potentially we can get moving. So we're gonna start playing with this one and see if we can make it work. If it doesn't work, we have the airbrush compressor that we can use. Okay, I'm gonna start taking this thing apart. It's got two screws here that are a little bit longer and protrude higher than the other ones. The other ones are all snug on here. I think, if I remember right, it had a handle on top of here at one point. So I don't know if that will cause a problem in actual usage, but we'll try it out. One of the other things I like about this one is that it does actually have an on-off switch too, so that's pretty nice. Let's see if it'll. Can you see the label down here? Yeah, the one warning says don't disassemble, so we're gonna void any warranty. Let's throw it into time lapse and see what happens, and we'll get this thing apart. All right, so it's all apart, and we're gonna see if we can swap it around. It's pretty neat how this thing works. So it's got the two chambers here. The air would get sucked in this way and then get expelled out here. It does have a plug-in on this side, but also underneath there's another little hole, and that hole is joined inside here. So air comes in here and goes out that side. So we're going to try to swap that around and see if we can make it go the opposite. Let's see here. So this little guy, it did go like this. We need it to go this way. And we have the indention here for the screw. So if we put it back on like this, that should let it go. So put it back together and we'll see. Okay, she's back together. I've also gone ahead and I just had to go find a proper Allen key to take out the plug out of this side, because there's that little itty bitty hole at the bottom, but I'm figuring let's let more air get in that way. Maybe I can go find a filter or something like that to go in there. I don't know if it'd be 100% necessary, but it's an option, I guess, if this works. The other thing I'll end up having to do, if this works, is to find some more washers, so that I can put underneath of these two on the sides that are longer and make them snug. So let's flip a switch and see what we got. Oh yeah, that's quite a bit more air. It is kind of loud. Nah, not so much as we pull it off the table. Yeah, that's a good amount of air coming out of there. Ooh, I'm really happy with that. That was pushing a good amount. So yeah, let's figure this next piece out. Okay, I went ahead and I printed this little guy out from Thingiverse. My print wasn't overly successful, but that's all right because this one's not going to work for what we need anyway. It didn't have any, on the Thingiverse files, it didn't say what diameter this little tube was. And so I had gone out and gotten some 1/4 inch tubing, and well, this outer diameter here is 1/4 inch, and this outer diameter is 1/4 inch, so not going to work. So I'm going to have to model something up to like this, I guess, and print it out so that it'll work with my 1/4-inch tubing. For the meantime though, maybe as a test, maybe we'll just rig it up. When in doubt, break out excessive amounts of electrical tape. So there's a barbed fitting in here that didn't quite fit into the tube, so I taped the tube to that, and then I taped that to this. And my dogs are barking, so I gotta go figure out which delivery guy's here. Okay, so the test rig is all set up here. So we've got the now compressor vacuum pump sitting there. I've gone ahead and I've loaded in a piece of 3mm Baltic birch. I'm gonna probably stand over here a little bit, that way we can kind of get rid of some of this reflection of that window so you can see better. We have K40 Whisperer up on there. So we're gonna go ahead and we've got it set for 8mm a second. And let's see here. And here we go. Let's see how it goes. Oh, we better turn this pump on. So that's on. And we're gonna hit go. Wow, I mean, that was a huge difference from what I was seeing when I was just cutting it the last time. There was no flames whatsoever. It looked like there was kind of like almost gonna flare up a little bit in a few spots, like when it was cutting out the center of the G and the that little space next to the R. Looked like it was kind of close, but it didn't. But that was a huge difference compared to what it was doing before. So let's open it up and see what we have inside. Okay, here we go. I haven't opened this up at all yet, so I'm pretty excited. Oh yeah, and there's still a little bit of browning right around here, which probably could do with some maybe if I put a fan, some fans down here to just blow the smoke across faster. So yeah, it works, and it works relatively fine. As I've used it some more since I did that first test cut. What I've noticed is that if it's doing like one of those ornaments, so like 2 pieces or whatever, it does fine. As it continues, like I can do 3 sets of ornaments on one piece of wood. And what I noticed by the time it's doing the 3rd one, that little compressor, thing is getting pretty hot. So I don't know how long it's gonna last this way, but it's good for what it's doing right now. We're going to explore some other options here too and see if that is better.